Stiff handshakes, forced smiles, brief words. They're all signatures of tense exchanges this week between President Obama and Russian President Vladimir Putin. It's no secret the two leaders have a chilly relationship and it is not improving. One likely reason, Russia is harboring wanted NSA leaker Edward Snowden. But before Edward Snowden was even born, there was another NSA intelligence contractor who made headlines. He was part of one of the most infamous spy teams of the Cold War era.
I had no idea the extent of the lie, the level of deception.
Who did you receive your instructions from?
You want to be partners? I'm offering you a partnership.
That was a clip from the movie The Falcon and the Snowman, the 1985 film starring Timothy Hutton that helped launch convicted spy Christopher Boyce into infamy.
I'm going to be looking over my shoulder the rest of my life. And for what?
Boyce's real-life story began in 1974. The clean-cut son of a former FBI agent was working at a defense firm in California when he intercepted a CIA cable that allegedly discussed a plan to destabilize the Australian government. He teamed up with childhood friend Andrew Dalton Lee to, quote, do as much damage to the American intelligence community as he could. To Boyce, that meant selling NSA codes to the Soviet Union. He later said that his prime motivation was to punish the U.S. for allegedly being in cahoots to overthrow the government of its ally. After 2 years on the run, Boyce was caught outside the Soviet embassy in Mexico and was promptly handed over to the FBI. He knew it was coming.
It's to make your life miserable. It's to wake up in the morning, you know, with a fear in your stomach, and you're always wondering if you're going to get caught, and you've made yourself into chattel to a foreign bureaucracy that doesn't care about you and only wants to exploit you.
Boyce was tried, convicted of espionage, and sentenced to 40 years in federal prison. His accomplice, Lee, received a life sentence, though he was released after 20 years. But Boyce's adventures were not over. He escaped from prison in 1980, followed by 19 months on the run robbing banks. After being caught and serving more time, he was paroled in 2003. It served only 25 years of his sentence. Boyce credits a paralegal, Kate Mills, with his release. They fell in love and married while he was still in prison. This summer, they went public with what happened after Boyce's conviction in a memoir, The Falcon and the Snowman, American Sons. And Christopher Boyce and his wife, Kate, sat down with me for an exclusive interview. It's his first on camera in 28 years. I asked why he sold secrets to the Soviet Union and if it was worth it. I also asked Boyce if he thinks Edward Snowden did the right thing and, of course, why he's releasing this new book now.
To be sentenced to prison, you need to be able to at least exist and not, you know, be murdered. The people were being murdered all around me, and it was a regular gladiator school where I was. So I escaped to save my life, and it's a story that I wanted to tell.
You said in a phone interview on CNN that if you had to do it all over again, you wouldn't do it. What changed your mind?
The greatest thing that you have in this world is your own life, and my actions caused me to lose a quarter century of my life. Many years of that was in solitary confinement, and it was tough. And I don't believe that I could again destroy my own life or such a large segment of it like I did. And that's why I feel so sorry for Manning and Snowden if they ever get him, because their life is going to be a living hell. They'll have years and years of solitary confinement, and I just don't believe that I could do that to myself again. So
you said that you thought you were aiding your country. Bradley Manning said that he was aiding his country, as well as Edward Snowden. What would you say now to someone who has access to that sensitive information and they're on the threshold of deciding whether to release it with the thought that they would be aiding their country? What would you tell that person about your own life experience?
I would tell them that they ought to go where they're going to stay. Snowden should have went to Venezuela or to Ecuador, not, you know, started off on a junket around the world.
Do you support Edward Snowden's actions of releasing the information about the NSA surveillance program?
Absolutely. I'm glad he did it. I just wish that he had not gone to Russia, that he had gone anywhere else but there, because Russia is America's traditional boogeyman, and by going to Russia, he detracts from the message that he was trying to deliver.
Kate, you successfully helped Dalton and Chris get out of federal prison. What would your defense be for Edward Snowden?
I don't know. I wish I could answer that. I'd actually have to sit down and have a long talk with Edward Snowden. I believe there has not been enough evidence of damage in either Manning's case or in Snowden's case. And I think that the NSA and the United States government can make up their own stories about damage as much as they want to. I think it's up to the American people to decide that. I happen to support Snowden. I really support Manning. And I don't know what their damage assessment is. I don't think any of us do at this point.
I read the book, and you write in the foreword, you call yourself a Don Quixote looking for a windmill, that you were destined to have great enemies. Chris, was that maybe the real motivation for selling those secrets to Russia about the surveillance program in Australia? I mean, that you were, to mix metaphors once again, a David looking for a Goliath, and you decided it would be the U.S. government.
I must confess that you probably hit the nail squarely on the head there. I was probably looking for any excuse to tilt windmills, and that's a personal flaw I have. I've certainly burned my fingers doing it, but I was certainly moved to do it by what I watched on the Twixes, the encrypted Twixes, about our intervention in Australian domestic politics. But I think you're right. I was looking for windmills, and in the process destroyed 25 years of my life.
It's really a fascinating conversation.
It's amazing.
And there is
that
so much more
that you peeled back and he revealed.
When I read the book, The Falcon and the Snowman, American Sons, it was the first page, and he identified that he was standing there at the last stand, and he said, I will one day be a man who will have great enemies. I will be a man who fights off a Goliath, so to speak. And as I read the book, I just kept thinking about that sentence, and there it was at the beginning.
And that was ultimately his motivation.
That was the motivation. It could have been anything. But he chose the American government as his enemy, and whatever the government was doing at the time, he would have used that to create an enemy. Again, there's so much more. Tomorrow on New Day Sunday, more of the interview with Christopher Boyce, including the tension that developed between Boyce and his partner in crime, Andrew Dalton Lee. Now, the men did time together. They're both free now, but they don't talk anymore. Here's why. And just a hint, there's a love triangle involved. That's coming up tomorrow, 7:15 a.m. Eastern on New Day Sunday.
Wow, it just gets more interesting.
It is amazing.
It's amazing.